I give all I have till the war is done. I give all I have till the war is won. I will not lose. William, I am that I am, the will of I am. For those of y'all who don't know, that's from a song called Ether. Ether. So for all of my people in ITB, break the cycle. For all of my people applying for jobs, for all of my people who have been Michael's angels, investors in ITB, break the cycle. And Adonai Community Mission number 1, 2, and 3. For all of y'all who don't know, Adonai Community Mission 1, 2, and 3 are transitional houses that my family has invested in with the very first community service director in the churches that my grandmother and grandfather invested in for their son who became a pastor. My grandmother and grandfather had investment banks called Onyx Wall Street Investment Banks and the Tree of Life USA Investment Banks. Michael's Angels Investors. You get hedge funds. You get the word hedge funds. You get the word hedge fund from they got it and they perverted it from the Bible. That's why the Bible, Malachi 3, says, will a man rob God, yet you have robbed me, even this whole nation. In tribute, God's people don't pay tithe and offering. Tithe or taxes. You pay tribute to the King of Kings. Tribute and gratefulness. Tribute and let everything that have breath praise. Tribute and praise. Not tithe and offering, tributes and praise. And my grandmother and grandfather. This is to mock your educational institutions. And this is to crown and give a Golden Scepter Award to Yonsei, who stopped going to your traditional schools that don't teach nothing. She didn't even complete high school. Good job. My grandmother, Ora Lillian Leggett, never completed high school. My grandfather, Frank E. Leggett Jr., never went to high school, never went to college or none of that. I don't even know if my grandfather finished high school. These are the greatest investors in their generation and their child's generation, because they were the head and not the tail, like Deuteronomy 28 says. Deuteronomy 28, verse 1 through 12 says, I will bless your going out and your coming in. Blessings. Michael's angel investor maintains the first fruit blessing and the birthright blessing, which nobody teaches and nobody hands down and nobody except my grandparents. First fruit blessing, birthright blessing. Adam received the first fruit blessing. He was created first. The first fruit blessing. The first thing created in the image of God on earth, Adam, and Adam received the first fruit blessing. And then only a woman can have a birthright blessing. No man can have a birthright blessing. A man that isn't first has a spiritual blessing when he gets married called a dowry that he gives to his wife as tribute to match her birthright blessing. Because you can't come into the two become one. You can't come empty-handed. So you're supposed to be able to maintain a spiritual covenant with God so that you can bring forth dominion and wealth from the works of your hands from the ground, unlike Cain, who is cursed. So a birthright blessing, only way a man can engage in a birthright blessing is if he remains in a spiritual covenant with God, and he has a dowry to give his wife. Otherwise, men who aren't husbandmen who give a dowry that belongs to the wife, because the wife is giving the spiritual birthright blessing of giving birth to the golden child in the image of the Messiah, or the golden child in the image of Eve, the mother, who would give birth to the Omega golden child at the end in Revelation chapter 12. My grandfather and grandmother, when they saw my mom, my grandfather and grandmother said, this is the queen of the South that the King of Kings and Lord of Lords spoke about. The queen of the South will judge this final generation. How can Kamala Harris? How can Kamala Harris? Any of you husbands that's talking about you're voting for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, obviously we don't serve the same God. Obviously you have no covenant with God, because God said the children are the kingdom. And if you vote for Donald Trump, then you say Donald Trump's children are the heirs. So what about your heirs? You are Esau. You sold your child's birthright. And then all of y'all talking about voting for Kamala Harris, you sold your wife's dowry to the swines. Women, that's why y'all poor and broke and busted. My aunt Elizabeth Betty Red told me don't bring nobody else to Trenton, because my aunt Elizabeth Betty Red was the oldest in my grandmother's family, and she did not touch any of her birthright blessing, and she poured it all into me and my sister, Terry, for safekeeping. When she got her daughter and her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren, all of my aunts that had children in the streets, because my grandparents said, yo, we gonna send this family and we gonna train them to be the golden child. And so all of my family put their dowries and their birthright blessings in my sister Terry and I as we came down here to this campus right here. In this generation, me and my sister Terry, we were the models of what the theology students like Stephen Richardson and Margie Richardson, Kurt Thompson and Tammy Thompson, me and my sister, we were the models of. My mother specifically took on the role of demonstrating how a pastor's wife would raise their children so that these college students, since my mom and dad came down here older, 26, 25, and 26 and 25 years old, they modeled for these students what raising individuals when you depart to serve, enter to learn and depart to serve. My mother and my grandfather and my grandmother, while all of our family was while they was trying to take our birthright land, while they was trying to take y'all birthright lands all across the country with alcohol and importing alcohol and drugs, importing alcohol and drugs, importing wars, nation kindreds. Matthew 24 said there will be wars and rumors of wars. So the European nations, the African nations, the Asian nations, all of them, because they had no economies, because they weren't under the blessings, they was under the curses. Everything that Matthew 24 said. So my grandparents and my grandmother and all of them, they reading the signs of the times in Daniel and Revelation, and they choose to come down here and send our branch of the family down here to master the golden child covenant in Revelation chapter 12. And model for the next generation of individuals coming down here with E.E. Cleveland, coming down here under breath of life, under the original individuals. These individuals who are here all in the world, all in these churches now, these individuals are imposters. We already modeled the blueprint. And so Dame Dash got a challenge out. Dame Dash got a challenge out to 50 Cent. A CEO challenge. And I'm intercepting that CEO challenge in hip hop between Dame Dash and 50 Cent. And I'm talking directly to Dame Dash and Beyonce and Nas and Faith Evans and Janet Jackson and the mother of Biggie Smalls, Faith Evans, child of Biggie Smalls. To let y'all know, 30 years ago, we intercepted. 30 years ago on the same campus, I was walking down the same road right here. I was walking down the same walkway. Dame Dash challenged 50 Cent, who wanted to talk about his pockets, his finances. I was walking down the same road. And I met an individual by the name of Curtis Spider-Loke Williams. Here on this campus, on this sidewalk, on this campus, we call him Goldie. The world knows him as Spider-Loke or G-Unit. And to Dame Dash, I'm gonna talk directly to you. And every single challenge that you spit at 50 Cent, I'm gonna show you that in 1993 to 1999. I'm gonna take you back, then take you to the future. There's a movie. So I'm gonna use, we are Holywood Studios. And when we came down here, we turned this into the Holy Land, Holy Oak Wood. And up north, outside of Pennsylvania, we got Holy Pine Forge Wood. We got Holywood Studios. We've had Holywood Studios. And we've been training to save our people from Babylon. Because the last and final battle of the ages, God tells his people to come out of Babylon, my people, so you be not partakers of her plagues. So to Dame Dash, the call of God in Revelation 4 is to his people that are in Babylon, that don't belong in Babylon. He also calls it unequally yoked with unbelievers. He calls Babylon those who are impersonating angels of light. Michael and his angels fought against Satan and his angels. So whenever anybody calls themselves the minority, the only minority are the 1/3 that was cast out of heaven. When you talk about democracy, you're identifying with the 1/3. The only minority ever in earth is the 1/3. Anybody who knows mathematics, once again, we talk about hip hop. So I can understand if Europeans don't understand. I can understand if Asians don't understand. They don't know mathematics. I can understand if y'all in Detroit, y'all don't understand because y'all not the originators of hip hop. I can understand if Chicago, y'all don't understand. I can understand if down in Florida you don't understand hip hop because you not the root, you not the source, you not the anchor, you not the procreators of hip hop. I can understand. You a consumer, you not a procreator. Trenton, New Jersey is the heart. Trenton, New Jersey is the nucleus of everything in the USA. Everything. All of your stories of George Washington and all of that, all of your stories of your Declaration of Independence and all of your stories of your Constitution, it revolve around two cities, Trenton, New Jersey and Philadelphia. They went down to DC because we slaughtered them in every battle when they tried to take our lands. New Jersey has never, ever, ever bowed the knee, has never lost a battle in these lands. Never. We the only place in the country that got a victory lap war memorial. We got a victory lap war memorial. We got a building sitting in the Capitol mocking every person who has ever tried to come to this land and try to retell a story. We got a war memorial building that says we won every single battle and we have never lost. And so they stopped trying to put the Capitol in New Jersey, in Trenton. And then they tried to go an hour over to Philadelphia and same thing. They tried to go up into Canada, British Columbia. Same thing, war, 1819, 1812, war in British Columbia. Slaughtered them up there. First time they tried it in 1819, they tried to put the Capitol in DC. We burnt it to the ground. We burnt it to the ground. Yes, I take credit for every single war and every single battle. Yes, I take credit. I take credit. The narrative that they telling y'all, it don't exist. You can't find anything where they had a capital, where they had anything. They don't start telling their history until 1871. I dare anybody in the world. So if there's no Constitution before, that's a Confederate. That's a Confederate Congress. That's a KKK. So the American Revolution, that's the KKK. That's Black British Bloods. Gangbanging. The Bloods was in the South. The KKK is Black British who wore red coats. And then in the North, you got the the Black British, they call themselves the Danes. Or the Vikings. And they was the Bloods. And the Crips, or the Yankees, or the Knickerbockers, are the Anglo-Saxons. They call them the Norsemen. Both of those groups worship a god named Odin. George Washington, all of them. George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, everybody. France, England, listen. Still to this day, this is why they say the North Pole Norsemen. There's supposed to be they call HSBCU, the H is for historical. I'm coming here, I'm at Oakwood University, and these cats talk about historical, and all of their history is a lie. You can send their very top individual at so-called Pine Forge Academy and at so-called Oakwood University and any HSBCU around the country. I challenge all of y'all standing right here in front of Oakwood University. I challenge the history department. I challenge them. And what's worse about this generation is Malcolm X told y'all that he realized that the leaders of the group that he was affiliated with, y'all know the name of it. The first name, they call it the Nation of Isis. Isis is the goddess of Egypt. The nation of Isis, little lambs. Isis had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Isis had a little lamb. Her fleece was white as snow. So Isis is white? No. Isis is the goddess of Egypt. Isis ain't white. Isis lambs. And so when his eyes was open, like Eve's eyes were open, Malcolm X was just like the prodigal son. Malcolm X realized he had thrown his pearls to swine. And he woke up in the pig's pen and said, I could go home to my father, my heavenly father. Because the individuals who lied to me in prison, the nations of Isis, little lambs, they claim that the Asiatic black man has metaphysics. And because of his metaphysics, yeah, y'all don't know nothing about this. Y'all don't know nothing about this. Y'all don't know nothing about this, okay? This is the northeast corner. And for all of y'all in Chicago and Detroit and Milwaukee and all of that, that's in the East. It's no such thing as a Middle East. They tried to separate them to create a different narrative. But we already took our stand. We on the coast. We the first fruits of the East. New Jersey, from the coast of Atlantic City to Trenton, that we control the headquarters, Trenton, all the way up to Newark, Brick City, and everything else in between. Because the sun rises in the east, and on the 40th parallel, that's why Jay-Z tried to claim a 40-40 club. The 40th parallel, the sun rises in the east over there. So when Daniel turned and prayed 3 times a day, he was turning to the 40th parallel because God put the tree of life and the angel to guard the tree of life and the Ark of the Covenant and everything east of where he was in Babylon on the 40th parallel. So then, after the Son of God came and poured out his bride, he sent his bride east. Revelation 12, I will send my bride into a place prepared for her by God, out of the reach of the dragon for 1,260 years. This is history. Daniel and Revelation is history. HSBCU, what? So let's go. Let's go. All of these doctors around here, witch doctors. Witch doctors. Saul went to the witch of Endor. Invocation. All of these, when they go into their bulletin, go check in Adventism and all of these churches, they say invocation. An invocation is necromancy, communicating with the spirits of the dead. Every one of these Adventist churches, including the individual that claims that he my dad, when you open a bulletin, it says invocation. Invoking the spirits of the dead all throughout the word of God. God curses the necromancers. Saul was a necromancer. He went to the witch of Endor. Delilah is the witch of Endor. When Delilah took 30 pieces of silver. Says Mystery Babylon, the mother of harlots. A witch is a harlot. A witch is a necromancer. They use sex to conjure spirits of the dead. Necromancy. That's why in all of these churches you got sexual assaults and necromancy is the art of paying a witch to communicate with the spirits of dead. It's in the Bible. Saul, and it was forbidden to do it, and Saul did it anyway. That's why Saul could not. God took his Holy Spirit from him. The Witch of Endor, these individuals have resurrected and wrapped the Witch of Endor in churches. Invocation. When they talk about the oracle in the Matrix. Yes, I'm here because my main man, E.T. the hip hop preacher. The very first movie that we did this with, when my mom told me to create Holywood Studios, to do the same thing to Hollywood that Dame Dash is doing to 50 Cent. Dame Dash 30 years ago. A man by the name of E.T. the hip hop preacher was getting the same Holy Spirit revelations from God that Malcolm X was getting. And when Malcolm X went to his people, just like Martin Luther King, when he got his revelations, the last book in the Bible, God promises, I will give revelations to my people who want to come out of Babylon. Malcolm X didn't have truth when he was running with the nation. He got truth when he got his revelation. The prodigal son, the truth was already planted in him because he was trained right. So it didn't matter what the pigs in the pig's pen tried to hit him with, or those who stole his wealth when he went into the city, like Malcolm, like Martin. But when they got their revelation, like Paul on the Damascus road, God said, you could always come home, my son. But they keep killing the individuals so that they can keep practicing their invocation. They call it divination. This place practices witchcraft, homie. My main man, E.T. the hip hop preacher, was getting the same. And so we swore in our generation that unlike our fathers who allow individuals to die when they got their revelation, me and my crew, we created a hip hop group called Alien Nation. Dame Dash, Nas, Prodigy, Raekwon the Chef, they got a song, Your Beef Is Mine. As long as the sun shine, the light up the sky, we in this together, son, your beef is mine. We in this together, son, your beef is mine. You didn't have to know me. I knew you. I said in our generation, we gonna show that we the golden child of Revelation 12. Because unlike our daddies, we the head. We ain't the tail. Our mother sent us out, just like the Creator said, I ain't asking you to take mine out the world, John 17. I am in you, Heavenly Father. You are in me and I am in them. I don't ask that you take mine out the world. No, they going to overcome the world. They going to crush the world. Every day my mama sent me out. No guns. Top Gun. Go crush. King of the mountain. King of the mountain. Go crush. Lion King. In every city. You don't got a city. In the East Coast, in the West Coast, you don't have a city. There is no city. From 1974, when I came out the womb, to present day, you don't have a city that me and mine don't have dominion at. We called the brethren all around the, listen. This go from Magic Johnson in my dad in them generation who tried to come down to this place and act like he's somebody. This go from Busta Rhymes. This go for Q-Tip. Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest, Busta Rhymes, all of them clowns claims this circle. But because they couldn't get nowhere near the top of the mountain. Every time they Q-Tip and Busta Rhymes would come down here, they would slither off back up into New York. Because in New York, y'all cater these clowns. New York, they ain't king of nothing. New York ain't even connected to the United States of America. It's in the water, yo. It's on maritime law. Whatever happens in New York don't even have no bearing on the United States. It's an offshore territory. So, I want to say to E.T. E.T., when he was getting his epiphanies, I was on my third tour of duty. I came to these lands at birth. So when E.T. was going through his thing, I was running with E.T. because I know history repeats itself in every generation. They're going to find individuals to try and silence and shut up and take their life if they don't get with the Babylonian program. So me and mine said every time we see somebody who is an asset and not a liability to the kingdom, your beef is mine. Not just on this campus, anywhere in the world. So when Tupac went down to Baltimore from Brooklyn, it was in an acting school. My mom had me turn down my very first $100 million in the ninth grade. In the ninth grade, Syracuse University offered me the full boat in the ninth grade to be the quarterback and run they yes bone offense. They don't even run that offense no more. Can't nobody else do it. My uncle Butch Hackett. My uncle Butch Hackett broke the mold. Made Jim Brown retire. Jim Brown retired. Hung up his shoes. And then they rigged the game against running backs and quarterbacks. They rigged the game. They put in something called the West Coast offense and an I formation. Because coaches couldn't listen. There was no need for a coach. There was no need for a quarterback. The running backs could dominate the game in the yes bone offense. Because you have 5 running backs, quarterback, two running backs in the back, and a slot back, and two receivers. Listen, there's no way to stop true killers in the yes bone offense. And when my uncle taught it to me, by the ninth grade, I was the nastiest in the country. And I turned down the scholarship because my mom wanted me to go to a school of the arts, a finishing school, and go save individuals like Tupac. So while Tupac left Brooklyn and went down to Baltimore, and he was in a school of the arts, I left Trenton, New Jersey, and Syracuse University for a boat. I was on the school. I was in Hamilton High School, starting quarterback the whole summer. I practiced with the team. I was the head quarterback. Listen, they had already offered me, yo, you do all 4 years here, boom, you going to... The coach at Syracuse had already inked the deal, the scholarship, full boat. I handed it to my backup named Kevin Johnson. He did Syracuse for quarterback for 1 year. Then Donovan McNabb from Chicago came behind him and was better than him at quarterback, so they moved him to wide receiver. And both of them went to the league. 2 backups. And I entered a group called Phase 1. With my older sister, and Kagia Kamathi Scott, and Lillian Norwood, and Lolita Norwood, and Al Johnson, and Chris Duncan, and went all over the country, and Maisha Parker, and my main man, Sean Payne from Chicago, Illinois. All kings and queens. and on trips down into Baltimore City during the same time where Tupac was doing Juice. During the same time Tupac was doing Juice. My mom like, yo, go up there to that school of the prophets and go get our peoples in the highways and the byways. Go get our prodigal sons and daughters. Go get them. We ran down on Tupac. We ran down on 50. We ran down on Biggie Smalls. Biggie Smalls. Alabama A&M is right up the street. Alabama A&M, my right-hand man, Jason Kibble. We brought hip-hop. We brought hip-hop to the South. Let's go. Jason Kibble goes to Russell Simmons. Jason Kibble, the cousin of Joey Kibble and Mark Kibble of Take 6. The same Take 6 with Claude McKnight and Brian McKnight from Orlando, Florida, where I'm at right now. Brian McKnight, Evans High School, Patmos Chapel, Claude McKnight. I work with your auntie right now. I work with Brian McKnight and Claude McKnight, and there's no way we honoring Kamala Harris, the sacrifice that Brian McKnight mama, auntie done made in that community. The only people who getting acknowledged. She getting the same honor that my mom would get. And the only person who's getting lifted up is my queen in November. Kamala Harris could never, listen, you don't have no authority over my queens. DC has never had a, listen, for Kamala Harris to have authority, your wife has no authority. Think about all of that, all of y'all clowns, that you're saying you're still a Negro and a slave. They call it the United Negro College Fund. So you're saying I waive my claim to abundant life freedom that the Messiah and the King of Kings gave when he said you are bought with a price. And I'm choosing to identify with a democracy. The only democracy is the 1/3 that got cast out of heaven. That's the only democracy. You're choosing. We have never been a minority. Was Abraham a minority? Yes, because Abraham was a vagabond. Abraham was in Babylon. Abraham was an idol worshiper. Abraham and his family were under the curses in Deuteronomy 28. So he was a minority. But Abraham's covenant is the lowest covenant ever. Eve's covenant with God is the highest covenant. God makes a covenant with Eve, and y'all identifying with a covenant with Abraham? God makes a covenant with Eve and says, out of your womb, of your future queens, will come the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And you're identifying with Abraham? That's called ignorance. That's called insanity. God turns to Eve in the beginning and makes a covenant and then blesses her and her husband and all of their children. In Genesis 5, the covenant with Eve is why Noah received the covenant, because he was one of those children that God promised would come out of Eve's womb. And you talking about Abraham thousands of years later? That's necromancy. That's witch doctors. When the chosen king in their generation called Samson, they turned to a necromancer witch doctor named Delilah and paid her the same thing that they paid to a necromancer witch doctor named Black Judas. Black Delilah and Black Judas. Kamala Harris is a Black Delilah. Fox News, Delilah was the Fox. Fox News, Rupert Murdoch. Fox, Delilah, necromancers. Satan will impersonate an angel of light. So, Dame Dash, my man E.T. the hip-hop preacher, we used to sit down in his living room and we used to watch movies, Hollywood movies, and we would dissect them in the spirit. The first movie we did was Braveheart. Now in 1994, Nas drops the Lion King of Kings album of hip hop called Illmatic. 30 years ago, the same year, Nas drops Illmatic, and Nas's crew is called Braveheart. Bravehearts, Bravehearts. So we here, 30 years ago, Nas' album came out. I'm sitting in E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher living room. He not called the Hip Hop Preacher in 94 because he got his organization is called Concerned Black Students. He's just Eric Thomas. We called him E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher after we created Alienation in 95. After Pastor Doggett creates Madison Mission. So the first year that I was on this campus, 93 to 94, E.T. is here, but he's not E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher. He's Eric Thomas, Concerned Black Students. But I had seen him in 1991 at my school with my big bro. With my big bro and my big sis, Derek. Green. You will come out and find green pastures. Derek Green's father was the worship leader at Pond Forge Academy that made my mom commit, make me commit, and turn away $100 million in the NFL to come to that school and worship under Derek Green's father, who was the choir director, the organ player, Derek Green, and his wife, my big sister, Kim, used to be Shropshire, Kim Green. Kamala Harris, Derek Green. If Kamala Harris has authority, Kim doesn't. No man can serve two masters, bro. No man can serve two masters. We've been sent here to go into Babylon, to call our people out of Babylon into your last name, into your mama's heritage, into your wife's heritage, into your daughters' crowns. The Queen of the South will rise up in judgment in this final generation. Kim Green is the Queen of the South. Kanisha Leggett is the Queen of the South. Deja Leggett is the Queen of the South. Destiny Leggett is the Queen of the South. Aura Lillian Leggett was the Queen of the South. Beverly Webb, Kamala Harris, and Oprah Winfrey and Michelle Obama, they bow to the Queen in England. Donald Trump goes and bows to the Queen, the now so-called King in England. Donald Trump claims that a King Charles III ain't no King Charles III. I was raised by King Charles the first. And then his son Darnell is King Charles II. And then his son, Nate Webb, is King Charles III. I was raised by King Charles III. I was raised by King Charles I. And then I helped raise King Charles II and III. King Charles II, all of his sons are heirs to the throne, not Donald Trump's sons. Them clowns across the waters in London, listen, ain't never been no presidency. E.T., D.D., Kamala Harris and D.D., listen, no man can serve two masters. You can't serve Kamala Harris and your wife. Yo, Jada, see, in our kingdom, we the kingdom that got lionesses on 1,000 hills. Ain't no cattle. Ain't no cattle on 1,000 hills, homie. That's necromancy. Revelation 5 says the lamb transformed into the lion. Ain't no cattle. We the transformers. He said, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. In Revelation chapter 5, the lamb transformed into the lion. And listen, every lion has 1,000 1,000 Mount Sanos. Every lioness has a lioness den in 1,000 different mountains around her pride land. So that when Derek Green brings Kim Green into my pride land, Kim Green got her own separate lioness den and mountain in my wife's pride land. And Kim Green, when she comes into my pride land, gets the same exact throne and crown as my wife would when D. Green comes into his pride land. In Kamala Harris's world and in Donald Trump's world, there can only be one king and one queen. And Mystery Babylon rides the beast. Our kingdom is not of this world, said the Son of God. We told you, alien nation, it's a raging war. It's a raging war. We live in this world, not of this world. And they cut off our mics. They didn't want the students hearing. Listen, they ripped out the mic in the sound stage and we had to do it silent. Listen, E.T., this battle been going on. And listen, Oakwood been on the wrong side of this battle from the door. We had to take the concert over there, right over there. We had the stage set up behind Peterson Hall. They sent security to turn it off the mic when we telling the shorties in the streets. Listen, we can't listen. We done seen the RZA and we done seen them come out the closet. We done seen Jay-Z and all of them. They in the closet right now. Y'all sheep that been led to the slaughter. And y'all all wanted to dance up and y'all all wanted to be yo MTV rappers. Listen, yo. So, Dame Dash, Mary J, Faith Evans, to Biggie Small's children, all of these individuals on this campus and all of these individuals in the world want the hell and death and destruction that y'all know is in the industry. So we trade in places. Dame Dash, I'm accepting your challenge. And not only is we going to expose the clown that you talking about, 50, we going our studios, Holywood Studios is going to expose Hollywood. And then rhyme for rhyme, I'm going to swap out Nas. Well done, my good and faithful servant. We got a festival starting October the 16th through the 24th, where we're going to take the Hip Hop Symphony Orchestra that we created, my group created right here on this campus. My mom first created it when Bob Marley wrote the album One Love in Wilmington, Delaware, riding forklifts in a Chrysler factory with my grandfather. My grandfather and Bob Marley used to work together at General Motors and Chrysler in Trenton, New Jersey. Just like Detroit. Detroit ain't the only place where GM was. Trenton, New Jersey, we had it first. Y'all been second. Y'all are leftovers the whole time. And there's a family from Detroit that lived with us in Trenton, New Jersey that could verify everything that I'm saying. Derek Fulford and Tony Fulford. Our families were linked and synonymous. And E.T. the hip hop preacher and D.D. Green and D.D. Mosley was also blessed and anointed by these same individuals. And they could tell you that my mama's covenant and my grandmother and grandfather's covenant and the work that me and my sister have done. We've out-hustled all of these individuals in the streets, saving our people in the highways and